Welcome to the G.L.O.E podcast, where we talk all things God, life, the ups and downs, organization, because chaos is not cute, and entrepreneurship, aka chasing those dreams. Here, we glow boldly and live purposefully. I'm your host, Angel, and around here, we keep it real, mixing faith, strategy, and a few laughs along the way. Whether you're trying to get your business together, organize your life, or just need a little motivation, you're in the right place. If you've been hanging around for a while, welcome back, and I hope you bought a friend. If you're new here, welcome. Get comfy and stay a while. Today, I am talking to Jessica Gomez. Jessica is a psychological thriller author of the book Pieces of You, which I have myself read, and it is wonderful and kept me on the edge of my seat. Jessica and I met through our podcasting group. Well, not podcasting group, but you all have heard me talk about Check the Locks podcast before. So she is a fellow locksmith. I'm excited to talk to her today. So everyone, let's welcome Jessica to the show. Hi, Jessica. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for being here. So, okay, Pieces of You. I absolutely loved it. I picked it up and I started reading it. So, I was a little slack with reading it at first. I pre-ordered it when I heard you on Check the Locks talking about it, and they were doing the promos for it and everything, and I pre-ordered it and I got it and I set it down to the side and I was like, I got to get to this book. I got to get to this book. And finally, at the beginning of this year, when I did my decided that I was going to read 40 books before I turned 40 next year. That was the first book that I went to.
Oh, what a good goal. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. That was the first book that I grabbed and I picked it up and I read it and I started reading it. And I think I started reading it at night and I was kind of sleepy at first. I was like, this is so good. I just can't put it down. So the next day I had to get my oil changed. And that was the one time that I was hoping they would take forever at the car dealership because I was just like engrossed in the book. But I think overall it took me like maybe 2.5 days to finish it. So loved it. How did you come up with the idea for this?
So thank you very much. I appreciate that. It's interesting to hear people say, oh my gosh, I read it in 2 days. I'm like, wow, it took me a really long time.
It took me way longer to write it. Can you go back and read it again, please?
But no, I love that, people are into it and they want to keep going with it. So the idea was kind of a culmination of things. As you said, we're both into true crime. So I watch a lot of true crime documentaries. And so something that I was kind of noticing throughout all of the documentaries I was watching were the killers always have some kind of something missing from their mother. So whether it's an absentee mother or the mother died at a very young age or there was some violence in the home, something like that, there usually is some sort of tie back to that. And then after I had my son, I think he was about a year old when I started writing this, it kind of weighs heavily on you. What you do is going to kind of dictate their life.
Yes.
So if you are like the type of parent that thinks about these things, it can get like really heavy on your shoulders of like, you want to make sure that you're quote unquote doing everything right. Not that I hope I would do anything that would, turn someone into a killer later, but yeah, the way that you treat your child will affect how they become an adult.
Right.
So it was kind of a combination of those factors. And then I kind of just started coming up with an idea around this, where it's not like it's not a killer who is looking for someone for like a physical purpose. It's
Right.
like an emotional purpose.
Okay, I got that. I love that. And I guess I should have asked this question first, but tell everyone about the book. I'm like, I forgot that I already know what it's about. Yeah. So I think everyone else does, but tell us about the book.
So it is a serial killer thriller. It is about a young woman who is grieving the death of her parents, and she gets into a car accident. And the reason that she's in the accident is because someone darts in front of her in the road, and she kind of swerves to avoid them. And then when she comes to after the accident, the woman is gone, and then there's just kind of this unfolding of events that happens after that. And then a lot of it too is based in a fictional small town that is basically, it's called Woodbridge in the book, but it's based on, many small towns that I've visited throughout my life, whether that's in Michigan or elsewhere. The book is based in Pennsylvania. So it is basically about this woman kind of going through her grief as she's trying to help these cases of these missing women in this small town.
Okay. Cool. Yes, y'all. It's a really good book. It definitely keeps you on the edge of your seat. So I've heard that a lot of writers, when they're doing interviews or anything like that, they'll say that the idea that they had when they started the book, it kind of changed, or like they changed characters around. Did that happen with you any through the process of it? Was there someone that you're like, no, I'm gonna take this person out, or that you wanted to change up a little bit?
Yes. So the main character, Nora, her plan never changed. She kind of has this coming of age story where she kind of finds her strength through what she's doing, because in the beginning of the book, she's very, rudderless. She doesn't know what's going on with her life. She's just kind of in the throes of grief. And then as she finds this, that she's instrumental in this case, she kind of starts to find a renewed purpose. So her like character arc was always the same.
Okay.
There are a couple other characters that I did change throughout, just because some people outline everything. I don't do that. I'm what's called a pantser. So I just write by the seat of my pants, and I just,
Okay.
whatever I feel like writing that day, that's what I'm writing.
Okay.
So that's just my personal writing style. That's how I like to do it. So with that, characters can change, because you're like, would this person actually be responding this way? How are these characters related to each other? How are they interacting? So little things like that will change the outcome a little bit.
Okay, cool. Who is your favorite character in the book? Like, who were you just like excited? Like, you just love writing for that character?
I love Erica, which is in the book. She is the main character's best friend.
Yes.
She is, she really doesn't respect authority. Um, she's very, very intelligent, and she knows it, and she doesn't, she's very intuitive, and she doesn't kind of let anyone pull the wool over her eyes about anything. And she can be a bit controlling because she thinks she knows best, but sometimes she does know best. So, yeah, I really enjoyed her. I thought she's kind of like a funny character, and I like that she's strong. I like strong female characters.
Okay. Yeah, I like Erica too. I was like, oh man, I can't remember the best friend's name, but yes, Erica was
Yes.
definitely my favorite character. And then I also liked I liked the uncle and his wife. I wish there was like a little bit
Yeah.
more of them. I think that was a great like story arc and how everything kind of folded out with them. So those were my top three favorite characters. I'm really weird with like a lot of like books and TV shows stuff. The main character is usually never my favorite character. It's like
Oh, okay. Yeah.
it's like very, very rare that the main character is my favorite character. And I don't know if that's because you're like getting too much of them. So you get to see all the different like facets of
Yeah.
their
There's no
emotions.
mystery left.
Yes, like, oh, okay, but yes. Okay, cool. And so we talked about this a little bit in the group. Well, I commented in the Check the Locks group and said that I had finished reading the book and that I think that it should be like a mini series or a movie or something. Which would you prefer for it to be? Would you prefer for it to be a mini series or a movie?
Um, I think the way that I envisioned it would be a movie, but it could very well be a mini series that could even keep going beyond the book. People have asked me if I'm gonna, is it a series? It's not a series. It's a standalone
Oh,
book, but
okay.
it's not. It's not out of the question that I would maybe write a follow up later about, what's going on with the characters' lives, and maybe a different case that they're working on or something. I think either way, I do, the way that I envision it is that I think of it kind of like a movie, and then I'm writing what I see in my head. So for me, it's not a huge leap from the way that the book is written to something that could be, transferred into a screenplay or something like that.
Okay. I think based on the book, like I think a movie would be okay, but I feel like if it were to become a movie, that like key pieces would kind of be left out and it would
Yeah.
kind of turn into just like any other type of like thriller type movie. So I think
Yeah.
for me as a reader from reading the book, I would like to see it as a mini series so that you could get more like details and
Or the
aspects
minutia.
of,
Yeah.
yeah, and you can get more involved in like the characters and kind of guessing like who did it. I think a TV series would be good. So I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed for that.
I mean, you are right about that because if it's a mini series or a television series, there is much more time for downtime. You can get to know the characters more and their motivations and um, how they are just as people operating in the world, where it's not just about the story. So you are right about that. But yeah, if anybody wants to
Yeah.
make it into a mini series,
Yes.
just
Let's
hit me up.
let's
So,
do this. So
yeah.
I'm gonna put it out there and say when it becomes
Yes.
a miniseries, do you have like thoughts or ideas of who you would like to play some of the characters?
Um, I envision who's the uncle in Modern Family? What's his name in real life? Mitchell. I'm gonna look
Uh,
it up.
Hold on. I was gonna say I'll look it up right quick. I've never watched Modern Family. I've heard of it, but
Oh, I love that. Yeah, Mitchell Pritchett is his name. Okay, Jesse Tyler Ferguson. It was escaping me.
okay, got you.
So I feel like he could be a good David.
He could. Yeah, I'm looking at his picture and I could see him as David. Yes.
Yes. And then I envision like Shay Mitchell for Erica.
Okay.
Know her from Pretty Little Liars, but she's in a bunch of stuff. She was in You as well, but
Oh yes, yes. Okay, yep. I'm looking at her now. Yep. I was like, the name sounds familiar. I can see her as Erica.
yep. Um, I could see Brant Doherty. He's like another person from Pretty Little Liars, actually. But for
Okay.
Eli, I feel like he could be a good Eli. I struggle with Nora because for me, her character, I could see like an Amy Adams type person, but the age doesn't work. So
Okay.
someone like Amy Adams, I feel like would be a good fit for Nora. Who do you and do you envision anyone for any of these characters?
I thought about for Nora, Emily Osment. Is that right? I think I'm saying it right. Emily Osment, from Hannah Montana. Um,
Okay.
and then she recently played in this movie.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
okay, I could see that.
I thought about her, and then I thought about, I don't know, she had another show called why am I drawing a blank here that I loved? It was a TV show. She was a chef on the show. I love the show. I've watched like 5,000 times and now I cannot think of the name
Young
of
and
it.
Hungry.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so Young and Hungry. So Sophia, who plays her best friend on Young and Hungry, I thought about her for Erica just because from watching Young and Hungry, the two of them have like really great chemistry, and I can see her being feisty, like how Erica is
Yeah.
like really feisty, and even
Mhm.
in Emily's story on Young and Hungry is kind of similar to Nora's, as in she's lost her mom. Her and her mom were super close on Young and Hungry, and her mom's gone. And so she's still kind of doing that. Well, what would my mom do? And if my
Yeah.
mom was here, she would say, it's like her dad's still alive on the show, but she still has like that connection with her mom. And then Sophia's like trying to like bring her in. She's like, okay, your mom will be really proud of you, but she would want you to get out and do this. So those are the two that I thought about for those, just because I think they already have such a great dynamic and such a great chemistry. And I love Emily Osment. So that would be
Very
my
cool.
plug. Yeah,
Yeah.
those are the only two that I really thought about. I didn't think about anyone else, but
Yeah.
those two. So all right, so Emily Osment, y'all hear this? Like, come on, let's get this going. I need to see. And also, Jessica, can I have like a small cameo role on the miniseries? I don't know what I would do in there, but can I just have like a small cameo?
You can work at the coffee shop that they hang out at.
Okay, I love coffee, and boom, there we go.
There you go.
I will be a barista at the coffee shop that they. Yes, that is my role. Thank you so much for including me in it. I'm
Yes.
super excited now. Okay, so you said that it's not going to be a series. I'm kind of disappointed that it's not going to be a series, but I can also see like everything was tied up nicely. Like there weren't any loose ends or anything like
Yeah.
that. So I can definitely see it not being a series. Do you have plans to write other books similar to this, or are you going to just be like, nope, this is it?
No, I do want to write another book. I've got like 5 different ideas, and I just have to choose one and really buckle down because I don't outline, I'll start writing about something, but then if I put it away for too long and then I go back to it, I'm spending all my time rereading what I already wrote, and then
Mhm.
it probably would help me to have an outline, but
Okay.
I need a lot of uninterrupted time in order to get like a solid day of writing. And I have a full-time job and I have a 7-year-old. And so it's just difficult to find the time for it. But I'm hoping this summer to really buckle down and make it a priority to get a second book draft finished.
Okay. That was, you kind of led into my next question as well, because I know you said you started writing this book when your son was 1 and he's 7
Yeah.
now. So how long did it take you to like write the book?
It took me about 2.5 years to write the book.
Okay.
And then I went through the process of editing. And then I was querying agents for about a year, off and on. So querying agents just means that you are reaching out to literary agents to ask them to read your manuscript. And then if they read your manuscript and they think that they can sell it to a publisher, then they will offer you representation.
Oh,
So basically it's like cold calling these people because I don't have any, connections to this industry or anything. So I was reaching out to agents, and then I kind of realized that the agents that I was reaching out to were not really the kind that I was looking for.
okay.
So I had to use like a different website to find these agents. It's like a very tedious process. And then everyone kind of wants something different in the letter that you send them. Everyone wants a different amount of pages from you. So it just takes a lot of time. And so basically I was not getting any offers or anything like that. So I took a query letter class from my editor. And basically my problem is that I just wasn't being salesy enough.
Mhm.
Like writers hate talking about their own book. Like we're like, we don't read it. It's not good,
Yeah,
So
I get it. I'm like that with my stuff. I'm like, no, you don't have to
yeah.
listen to this. Yeah, I get it.
But you have to really be your own champion, and you have to be telling them basically without saying you have to read this and this is why. So once I got my letter, more marketing friendly, then I was offered representation, which is like a really huge deal in the literary world because it does not happen for a lot of people. So I had an agent who I was with for about a year, and I really didn't have much interaction with him. And, he's a big agent and everything, but it just didn't work out. So I just decided to do it on my own. So, in the interim, there's like 2 years going by. There's like a year of me finding the agent and then a year of him, shopping it. And then he's, nothing is coming from it. So that's like 2 years that go by. So I was like chomping at the bit because I'm like, it's done, it's ready, I got to get it out there. So I just opted not to renew my contract with him, and I said I'm just going to do it on my own. So I hired my own cover artist, I hired my own formatter, and I found, I did all the research of like how I wanted it published with the company that I wanted to use and everything, and I just did it on my own. So that's that's where we are now, and it worked out fine because then I could choose my cover artist, I could choose what cover I wanted, I could choose my title, I could choose a lot of things that you may not be able to choose if you do go the traditional publishing route, because those things are considered marketing and they may make a very strong suggestion to you about what the title should be or what the cover art should be.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, that was one of my questions that I was going to ask was, did you do it yourself or did you have someone? I'm not gonna say I love, but cool that you have both sides of it, because a lot of people, when they decide to publish, it's either they decide to go through an agency and just wait and work with that, or they decide to self-publish and go with it that way. So you have experience on both sides of it. And it's just really sucky that you spend all that time and all that effort, doing that, with spending the money on it, and then nothing came from it. And in the end, you ended up doing it on your own. So with doing it on your own, when you decide like not to renew that contract, how did you feel? Like, were you overwhelmed with trying to do it on your own, or did you feel like you had kind of enough knowledge from what you had already gone through to take that step?
Well, the good thing about signing with an agent is that you don't, if you're using a reputable agent, you don't pay them. They only get paid if they sell your book to a publisher.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah, so I didn't spend any money for getting that agent. The only money
Okay.
I had spent thus far was I had hired an editor. So, I I'm happy that it turned out the way it did, because I don't think the book would have looked like this. I don't know that the book would have not changed, because publishers may make a suggestion to you about, or, if you have an editor there, they may say, you might want to change some things, which maybe it would have changed it for the better, or maybe it would have not been true to what I personally saw for the book. So I felt very, um, I felt overwhelmed. I felt like I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just going to figure it out. And that's just kind of been the whole thing this whole time, is like, if I want to do something, I just will figure it out until it's done. So if you don't have like a tenacious personality, I can see that being very daunting and very hard for someone who just feels like, I don't know how to do this. And so you just have to spend a lot of time figuring it out. And that's just what it comes down to. So yeah, it was a little bit soul crushing for a little bit, because I had to accept that I was not going to have this book traditionally published. But it ended up okay, and the book is doing well. So it ended up the way it was supposed to.
Okay. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And, sometimes we feel like something should look like one way, and then when it doesn't work out that way, we're upset about it or we're sad about it. But in the end, a lot of times it works out for the best. And even though in that
Yeah.
moment it doesn't feel like that, you're like, oh my gosh,
Right.
what am I supposed to do? But then in the end, you're like, okay, cool, it works out for the best. And then with you self-publishing, like, that's more money in your pocket now that you
Yeah,
don't
right.
have to,
It is. Yeah, it
yeah,
is. The more,
that's,
yeah, I make a
yeah.
little bit more. I don't have to split it with an agent. I don't have to split it with a publishing house. I do make a little bit more on each sale. It's harder for me to get into mainstream bookstores, but I am in some, so it's not impossible. So like I said, it was hard. It was, there were many tears shed throughout this entire process, when you get a bunch of rejections from agents, when the book is not selling, and you're coming to the realization that this is not happening the way I thought it was going to happen. Like, there's a lot of emotions that you have to go through with all this kind of thing. So it's definitely made me have like a thicker skin, because I am a sensitive person. So I do think that that was a positive thing, where you just have to you just have to keep going,
Right.
and there really is no other choice but to just kind of get through it. So
Well, I'm glad that you pushed through it so that we could have this wonderful book. So I'm so
thank
happy
you.
that you did. Jessica, what advice would you give to someone who, maybe is like they're trying to write a novel, or either they've already finished it and they're in a similar situation as to where you are, they're trying to shop it around and it's not working out. What advice would you give to them?
I would say that if you're in the process of writing a book, or you want to write a book, I would say, if it's like on your heart and on your mind, that you should just do it. Because if it's this little nagging thing in your head that, I really think I could do it, then that means that you should be doing it. So my advice for actually getting the book done, which is, an accomplishment in itself, is to set aside specific time several times a week that's just dedicated to writing or your writing process. I do a lot of my thinking on walks or while I'm driving, and so I can't write anything down right then. So I use a voice recorder to keep my thoughts, and then I will listen to it back and then write later. So that might be helpful for someone. For someone who is in the process of trying to find an agent, I would recommend going on Publishers Marketplace. I think it's like $25 a month to join. So if you're able to join, that's the best place to look for agents to query, because that website you can actually look at agents that are doing deals, and if they have not done any deals in the past few years, that might not be someone that you would want to query. So once you do all that, I would say look at everyone's requirements meticulously. Have an attention to detail. If you feel like your letter, like if you're getting like an auto rejection and you feel like they're not really reading what you're writing, which is kind of how I felt, I would recommend doing what I did and take a query letter class so that you can learn, okay, maybe there is like something here that I need to change a little bit that would grab their attention, because you've only got like a couple seconds to grab their attention.
Right.
And then, if you get to that point where you get an agent, that's amazing. Most people never get that far. And then it's kind of in the hands of your agent at that point. So, if it doesn't work out with an agent, you can self-publish. There's nothing wrong with it. Like I said, it's a little bit harder if your dream is to get into like mainstream bookstores. That will be more difficult. But if you think that you can do online sales, like there's nothing wrong with doing it yourself. It is more expensive because you have to pay the cover artist and the formatter unless you know how to do that. And you do have to pay an editor. If you don't get an editor for your book, you are not ready to publish it. So there are books that are, just thrown up on Amazon and they never saw an editor, but you can tell. So it's not just for grammar, it's also for development and the structure of the story and things like that. So um, if you get through all that and you're ready and you're proud of your book, you should publish it. So, really my best advice is to just keep going. It's so much harder than you think it's going to be, but you just have to keep going.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Thank you so much, Jessica. I don't know if you've already done it or do you have plans to do like a book tour or anything like that?
I'm not doing a tour, but I do have some signings coming up just throughout Michigan. So I've got in a couple. Well, this will already be done by the by the time this episode comes out. I don't know. A couple of them will have already been done. I've got a couple things coming up. I have a book signing in Charlevoix at a boozy book fair. I have an author talk in Grand Rapids. But at the end of July, I will be at the Detroit Book Festival, which is a huge festival at Eastern Market in Detroit. And so I'm very, very excited about that because I went last year just as a guest and there were thousands of people there. It was awesome. So if you live in Michigan or nearby, you should definitely come down to the Detroit Book Fest and see what it's all about.
Okay, cool. Well, Jessica, thank you so much for being here. Is there anything else that you would like to share before we go?
I don't think so. Just, I am thankful that you wanted to have me on, and I, have made such incredible connections with people both through Check the Locks and just from being like an indie author. And there are some really incredibly talented people who may not be at your, local Barnes and Noble, but ask your library if they will order a book for you that you're interested in because they probably will. So I would say just, thanks for giving me a try. And if you like like crime shows and you like thrillers and things like that, I think this book would be up your alley.
Yes, I definitely say check it out and tell everyone where they can find you at and where they can find your book at.
So I have social media at writer Jessica Gomez, Facebook and Instagram. I'm on TikTok a little bit, so it's all writer Jessica Gomez. You can find the book online at Barnes and Noble, Amazon. It is in a few indie bookstores, but that might be a little bit more challenging to find. But if you ask your indie bookstore to order it for you, they probably will. So then you can support them that way. It's on Target, really anywhere online you can find it. Or you can go to writerjessicagomez.com and you can find it that way. And you can also sign up for my newsletter.
Jessica, thank you so much for being here. Y'all, seriously, if you're into thriller, psychological thriller type books, like check this book out. It is really good, really great. It's a easy read. It's what, like less than 300 pages, I think. Am I right?
Yeah, a little less than 300. Yeah.
Yeah, a little less than 300 pages. So if you're like a serious avid reader like me, you can probably knock this out in like a day and a half if you don't have anything on your schedule. If you're not, I can't put this book down type of person, you can still get it done in a good amount of time. But it's a really good book. So, and once y'all read the book, like send me and Jessica a message. Let us know what you thought about the book and tell us who you think should play the character. So
Yeah, I would love to hear that. Yeah,
yeah.
it really makes my day anytime sends me a message on social media. People have reached out to me through email before and just said that they really love the book, or I'll read like a really nice review and stuff like that. And it really does make my day. So I really appreciate the people who have done that. And yeah, if you ever have any questions, or even if you decide to read this book for your book club, like maybe I could do like a virtual pop-in for that. I've done that before for people. We just kind of do like a Google Meet, and I just pop in and answer people's questions about the book. So that's always fun too.
Oh, that's really cool. I never even
Yeah.
thought about like doing that. I mean, how often do you get to have a book club meeting and then get to have a chat with the actual author of it? So, come on, guys. So, if you're looking for a book for your book club, here we go. Pieces of You by Jessica Gomez. Thank you so much, Jessica, for being here. It's been so much fun chatting with you. That's it for today's episode of the G.L.O.E podcast. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you're walking away with something that fuels your journey. And remember, glow boldly, live purposefully, and I'll talk to you next time. Loving the G.L.O.E podcast? Let the world know. Head over to Apple Podcasts and leave a 5-star rating and review. It helps more amazing listeners like you find the show and gets us featured in other shows' recommendations.